Bigfoot is one of the most interesting cryptids out there, perhaps because it's the one cryptid that most resembles us. For years now, people have been coming forward with their encounters with these elusive creatures, being able to provide photographic evidence along with casts of footprints. However, it's also known for causing interesting discussions. Some think that the humanoid exists in small groups, while others have said it's not possible that such a large humanoid could exist in our world without being seen more frequently. They point to the fact there would need to be a large group of them to survive, and if this was the case they'd be seen a lot more often. Others, however, disagree with this notion, and have said that for thousands of years man has been encountering these giants, with reports coming from Tibet, America and even Australia. However, some people take it a step further, and claim that they've managed to interact with these creatures. One of these is a 70-year-old woman, who's detailed that she's been communicating with and raising a Bigfoot for almost a decade. Her incredible story details that she's raised the baby Bigfoot since it was young, and that she's even managed to teach it a few words. The woman said she can back up her story with photographs and videos, but as of right now has decided not to release these. She first encountered the Bigfoot back in 1964 in a swamp in Louisiana, saying that the creature was weak and only weighed roughly 20 pounds. She then thought that if she didn't do anything the creature might pass away. Wanting to avoid this, she took the baby Bigfoot home and started to raise it. When she got home she fed the Bigfoot, saying that its favourite food was eggs, tomatoes and goat's milk. After a couple of meals and getting the creature back on its feet, she said she released it back into the wild where it belonged. However, every time she did this she said it refused to leave and would always find its way back to her. Over the next 8 years, she continued to raise and feed the animal, but said when it reached adulthood she moved away. In 1974 she moved into a nearby town and said she had to leave the creatures behind, something she said wasn't easy. She said the following about the whole experience. He was so little and so cute. I had to do something about it. He was so defenseless, lying next to the mud and water curled up crying like a baby. His parents either passed away or had abandoned him. He brought a friend home with him. At first the other guy was shy, hiding behind the bushes, but little by little he began to trust me. So there we were sitting on my porch, 2 Bigfoots and I having dinner under the moon. Bigfoots are real and they happen to be excellent creatures, docile and better than most people, and by the way they don't smell bad like some people say. I've given you a story, tell it, that's all I want. Only another person besides you knows my secret now, and that's my friend Maggie. It's an interesting story, but as with most of these, certain questions will be put forward. You have to provide evidence when it comes to these sorts of claims, as although they make for great stories, we need to see evidence to back up what's being said. However, even some people within the science community have come forward and said that we shouldn't dismiss these sightings. One question that's been put forward is, does forensic science back up Bigfoot claims? Jeff Meldrum, professor of autonomy and anthropology at the Idaho State University, have said he thinks it does, and who better to believe than an expert in the evolutionary morphology, that is the study of how primates adapted to bipedalism. In his research, Meldrum studies footprints to determine how humans have evolved for upright walking. He studies samples from Africa, as well as other places all around the world. Meldrum attributes his interest in Bigfoot to a track he discovered in southeastern Washington. It was here he says he found a fresh track, so fresh he could see the skin ridges in detail. The print was at least 14 inches long. That first sighting was over 20 years ago. Since then, Meldrum has studied over 300 footprints, as well as hundreds of photos of Bigfoot. When describing these cars, Meldrum said the feet are broader and flatter than humans. He also noted the lack of an arch and thumb-like big toe that would be similar to an ape's. Instead, there was a big toe more like a human's. The toes were longer, presumably to help navigate the uneven terrain. Furthermore, based on the imprint, Meldrum believed the print couldn't have been manufactured as some have said. The print is pressed into the ground in such a way that it shows flexibility. He noted that these prints are usually adapted to allow large primates to walk on two legs. To Meldrum, this evidence is proof that Bigfoot may exist, and it would be ridiculous to simply discount his evidence. Meldrum doesn't simply believe in Bigfoot, he is certain the creatures exist. Other researchers have pointed out that large humanoid creatures have been reported for at least the last 10,000 years, saying that ancient man has detailed their encounter with what they say are large humans. Going back, old tales in Australia said the Yowie were the original inhabitants of the Australian continent, but were completely driven out of their native lands by the men that came there to settle. However, every so often eyewitness accounts come from Australia, detailing that they've seen what looks like a Bigfoot creature. Going down the Yowie rabbit hole leads to further theories, from Australian government officials covering up further evidence, to Yowies being involved in many of the extraterrestrial and unidentified flying object sightings all around Australia. There's even subgroups of the Yowie community that defend the idea that Yowie might be an alien species, and that the Bigfoot monsters and variations could all be extraterrestrial species. The Yowie creature is commonly encountered in Queensland, with many of the eyewitnesses saying this creature is unlike anything they've seen before. So what do you make of these stories? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.